Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. We are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Translations and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashata Deshatarane. And we are now in the Adi-lila, chapter 8, entitled The Author Receives the Orders of Guru and Krishna, starting from text 16. Bahu janma kare yadi shavana kirtana tabutana paya Krishna pade prema dana. If one is infested with the 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, despite his endeavor to chant the holy name for many births, he will not get the love of Godhead that is the ultimate goal of this chanting. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says in this connection that although one may go on chanting the Hare Krishna mantra for many, many years, there is no possibility of attaining the platform of devotional service unless one accepts Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One must follow strictly the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu given in the Shikshastika 3. Trinadapi sunichena taror iva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtanya sadahari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. One who follows offenses, becomes successful in Krishna consciousness, and ultimately reaches the platform of loving service to the personality of Godhead. So, yeah, Lord Chaitanya is being very serious about offenses in chanting, right? Because we hear a lot from different sources about the glories of the holy name and how by chanting the holy name, we very easily make spiritual advancement, get purified, get liberated, get love of God, go back to Godhead, right? So the ultimate goal of chanting is what?
Purification and Golok Vrindavan.
Golok Vrindavan?
Liberation.
No, liberation is just a side effect. The real goal of chanting is?
May I guess, Prabhupada Priya?
Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Is it to achieve loving devotional service to Krishna?
Yes. Krishna Prema, right? That's what we say. That the ultimate goal, which is Krishna Prema, love for Krishna. So we're trying to get love for Krishna. And he's saying that if our chanting is infested with the 10 offenses, then even if we go on chanting for many, many lifetimes, not just many years, but many lifetimes, we're not going to get Krishna Prema. We're not going to get the ultimate, we're not going to achieve the goal of our chanting. So the big question is how to get free from offenses, right? We recite the 10 offenses every morning. So how to get free from it. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is giving some hint here. He's saying that we need to take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? And that's why we start with the Panchatattva mantras, because Lord Chaitanya overlooks offenses. So even though Krishna takes offenses very seriously when we chant Hare Krishna, but if we go through Lord Chaitanya, we first offer our respects and glorifications to Lord Chaitanya and the Panchatattva before we start chanting, then Lord Chaitanya is going to overlook our offenses and he will accept our chanting, even if it has some offenses. Of course, we should still try to avoid offenses. But even if inadvertently we commit some offense, we're inattentive, or we doubt the glories of the holy name or something like that, Lord Chaitanya is still going to accept our effort. So that helps us. That's why he says, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that one may go on chanting the Hare Krishna mantra for many, many years, but there's no possibility of attaining the platform of devotional service unless one accepts Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So really, it's only by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya that we can even chant Hare Krishna and get the benefits of chanting Hare Krishna. And then also, so one thing is going through Lord Chaitanya, and another thing is by meditating on Lord Chaitanya's instructions regarding chanting, which he says that one should chant the holy name of the Lord. How? Yeah,
The state of humble.
more humble
Oh.
than the straw on the street, right? More tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige and ready to offer all respects to others. So when we chant like in that mood, then we can chant nicely and we can go on chanting for a long period of time and for our whole lifetime. We can actually achieve the goal of chanting, which is Krishna Prema. Okay. Good. So we have to always remember that whenever we sit down to chant japa or even in kirtan, right? Just try to like remember Lord Chaitanya. You know, when we're singing the Panchatattva mantra, we should sing it with like actually be conscious, you know, like very intentionally be like, all right, Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, Shivas, I'm about to chant Hare Krishna right now. I'm so full of offenses. I'm so fallen. Please help me. Please accept my chanting. Please overlook my offenses because my desire is to attain Krishna, and only by your mercy is that going to be possible. We can express that kind of intention every time we sit down for japa and kirtan. Okay, Prabhupada continues here. One must come to the understanding that the holy name of the Lord and the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself are identical. One cannot reach this conclusion unless one is offenseless in chanting the holy name. By our material calculation, we see a difference between the name and the substance. But in the spiritual world, the absolute is always absolute. Name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the absolute are all as good as the absolute himself. Thus, one is understood to be an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead if he considers himself an eternal servant of the holy name. And in this spirit, distributes the holy name to the world. Wow, that's pretty deep, right? Saying that we call ourselves devotees of Krishna, saying, but Krishna and his holy name are the same. So if you say I'm a devotee of Krishna, that means I'm also a devotee of the holy name. So how do I serve the holy name? How do I express my devotion for the holy name? Krishna, by distributing it, by chanting it seriously, by chanting it loudly, and by distributing it to others. One who chants in that spirit without offenses is certainly elevated to the platform of understanding that the to associate with the holy name and chant the holy name is to associate with the personality of Godhead directly. Yeah, so if we're not experiencing that, when I chant Hare Krishna, I'm actually associating with Krishna directly, then what does that mean? We're committing some offenses. So, yeah, we need to really take shelter of Lord Chaitanya and follow his instructions to get free from. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it is clearly said, Sevan Mukhe Jivado Swayam Eva Spuratyada. The holy name becomes manifest when one engages in the service of the holy name. This service in a submissive attitude begins with one's tongue. Sevan Mukhe Jivado. One must engage his tongue in the service of the holy name. Our Krishna consciousness movement is based on this principle. We try to engage all the members of the Krishna consciousness movement in the service of the holy name. Since the holy name and Krishna are non-different, the members of the Krishna consciousness movement not only chant the holy name of the Lord offenselessly, but also do not allow their tongues to eat anything that is not first offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord declares, Patram Pushpaktoyam Yove Bhaktya Prayachati Tadaham Bhakti Paritam Ashnami Prayatatmanaha. If one offers devotion, a leaf, a flower, fruit, or water, I will accept it. Therefore, the International Society for Krishna has many temples all over the world, and in each and every temple, the Lord has offered these foods. On the basis of commands, the devotees chant the holy name of the Lord offenselessly and never eat anything that is not first offered to the Lord. Krishna Mahamudra and eat prasadam that is offered to the Lord. So that's the process. So Rupa Goswami tells us that, that Krishna, his name, form, qualities, and pastimes are all transcendental. So we can't access those things with our material senses. So it's not that by chanting the holy name that we're going to come in touch with the holy name, right? Just by using our material senses and our tongue and mouth and vocal cords to chat, or our ears to hear, although that's the mechanics of it. But he says, Atashi Krishna Namadi, that we can't understand or access Krishna with our material senses. But then he says, but one who engages the tongue, who engages in devotional service, beginning with the tongue, by chanting the holy names and taking prasadam, then gradually we purify ourselves, and then Krishna will reveal himself. Like Krishna will actually appear. He'll make himself accessible. So that's the process. So in the beginning, we're chanting, but we're not feeling like Krishna's present in our chanting, right? We're not feeling like when I say Krishna, that Krishna's there, right? We're just kind of like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So, but but we're aiming for that. We're aiming for love of Krishna. We're aiming for like personal association with Krishna. But in the meantime, we're chanting for our purification, right? We're chanting as a service. To serve Krishna by serving his holy name, by chanting his holy name nicely, and trying our best to do it well and free from offenses. But in the beginning, it's kind of like we're just purifying away thick layers of conditioning. And then we'll come to the point where it's kind of like, okay, I'll give an analogy that Kritika can relate to. It's like, it's like, let's say, I don't know if this happens in dentistry, but let's say someone has a cavity in their tooth, but they already have like a filling, like it's been filled once, and somehow, I don't know, some leakage was in the filling, and some, saliva and food and whatever sugar juices went down there and rotted it anyway. So before you can even start drilling out the cavity, you have to like go through the filling, get the filling out, or drill through the filling. So it's like, the filling is like all the layers of conditioning and anarthas and things that are covering our hearts. Service, we need to like get through all those layers of the filling, get that out of, and then we can actually start, really getting to work, doing some actual devotion, so like accessing the holy name. And then the holy name is going to go to, so then you get the filling out, you still need to get out the rotten stuff that's in the actual tooth, right? And then you need to fill it up with, the clean new filling that's going to protect it. So first we have to get through our conditioning. Then we need to actually engage in chanting, offenselessly. And then the holy name is going to work very fast, right? To like free us from all of our material attachments and desires and all these things. And then the heart gets filled up with love of God. So like that. Yeah. But we have a lot to get through first, like a lot of work. And that's why we're not experiencing Krishna. All those blockages, right? The old, all that rocks in a way underneath the subtle. So you could say that the filling is like the gross blockages, and then the rotten stuff is like the subtle blockages, and we have to clear all that out, and then just like totally open up the heart, nothing in the way anymore. And then when we chant, then love of God well up and overflow. Okay. So that's it's interesting how it all starts with the tongue, right? Using this tongue.
Yeah.
Because we sing this Prasadam Priya that the tongue is the most voracious and difficult to control. Out of all the senses, the tongue is the most difficult. tongue always wants to eat something tasty without discrimination. Tongue wants to speak some words that are not very good. So we really have to control this tongue. That which is optional. Chanting the holy name. So that's the main process. It's going to save us. Okay, text 17. Yanata sulabha muktir yadyari punyataha seyam sadhana sahasrar hari bhakti sudurlabha.
By cultivating philosophical knowledge, one can understand his spiritual position and thus be liberated. And by performing sacrifices and pious activities, one can achieve sense gratification in a higher planetary system. But the devotional service of the Lord is so rare that even by executing hundreds and thousands of such sacrifices, one cannot obtain it. Purport. Prahlad Maharaj instructs. Should we sing together?
Say it together. Matirna Krishna Parata Svatova Vito Vipadyeta Griha Vrananam Naisham Madhistara Durgam Gramangrim Sprishyat Pagamo Yadartha Mahiya Sampada Rajo Vishekam Nishkinchananam Navrinita Yavat.
These shlokas are to be discussed. Their purport is that one cannot obtain Krishna Bhakti or the devotional service of the Lord by official execution of the Vedic rituals. One has to approach a pure devotee. Narottam Das Thakur sings, Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtara Paiche Keba, who has been elevated without rendering service to a pure Vaishnava. It is the statement of Prahlad Maharaj that unless one is able to accept the dust from the lotus feet of a pure Vaishnava, there is no possibility of achieving the platform of devotional service. That is the secret. The above mentioned Tantra Vachana, quoted from the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1:136, is our perfect guidance in this connection.
Yes, this verse, Krishna's Kaviraj quotes from Goswami Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So his point here is, that by philosophical knowledge, you can get liberation. And by doing sacrifices, you can get sense gratification. You can go to the higher planets. But even if you do a million sacrifices, and even if you cultivate philosophical knowledge for many lifetimes, still that person it's very rare that they're going to get devotional service. The devotional service is something very, very rare and difficult to obtain. Okay, now he's going to go on same topic.
I have one question. So, what does he actually mean by when unless one is able to accept the dust from the lotus feet of a pure Vaishnava, like to be very, very humble on a pure for a pure devotee?
Yeah, it means we need to serve a devotee, right? That's what he's saying. Chadiya Vaishnava Seva, Nistara Payeche Keva. That without serving a Vaishnava, how can one become elevated? So dust of the lotus feet of a devotee, like taking shelter of the dust, or the verse literally says, this from Bhagavatam 7:532, says Mahiyasam Pada Rajo Abhishekam. Abhishek. It means you need to do an Abhishek with the Pada Raja, with the dust of the lotus feet of the devotee who is Niskinchanana, who has nothing to do with this material world. So Prabhupada translates it that we need to smear our bodies the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotee. Yeah. So wait, so what does it mean to smear one's body? It's not like you're going to actually go and get all over the devotee's feet and be like, take a bath with that. Like,
We'll be banned from the temple.
Serving the devotees.
It means serving the devotees. Yeah, serving the devotees and pleasing the devotees and getting their blessings. Yeah.
Okay, my question is, I don't know if it's a stupid question. So I know there are so many Maharajs who are like pure devotees, kind of pure devotees. So like whenever we see them, so can we just go to them and ask them like, can we take some of your drugs or like, like can we just like do some of your I mean their fake water and then can we just do that? Because everybody says that, so why can't we just go and ask them?
Yeah.
Right? I'm pretty sure they're not gonna say no unless they are like no.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends. Some gurus are definitely going to say no. Some exalted devotees will say no. Some might allow it. Because they're humble, you know, they don't see themselves as like a worshipable person or somebody whose dust of their lotus feet is valuable.
Time, right? They know like, okay, although they don't consider themselves, but when they look at us, they know like they are so miserable. I need to help them.
Yeah. So some devotees are fine with it. They're just very like a little more like casual about it. Sometimes, you know, like I've been to many like house programs where devotees will invite a senior devotee, Prabhupada disciple, sannyasi guru to their house, and they'll do like a foot washing thing
Yeah.
as part of the
Yeah.
reception.
Yeah, I'm doing the turn.
Yeah, distribute, put on their heads or something.
Yeah.
So that's kind of I mean, I've seen like generally there are cultural differences. So I think maybe like an Indian, someone of Indian origin, like an Indian sannyasi would be more comfortable with that than a Western sannyasi. I've seen that. And also it's something more like if you would go to like an Indian family's, like a, you know, like a cultured Indian family's home, they would do it and that the guru would accept it because that's the culture. Like they would accept it, not because he's really like eager to have that kind of service, but that the family really wants to do it and this they feel like this is the right thing to do and it would be they would be amiss to not do it basically, so then he would accept it like that.
So is this more like, okay, so we are not being selfish, we are doing it for their pleasure, it's not for.
See, that's the thing because if you're doing it for the person's pleasure, then you know when you see the look on his face when you come with the bowl of water and the towel and thing, you might not do it because he's kind of like, do I really have to? So, but yeah, so that's why it's not done so much. It's just because devotees feel like don't make a big deal about me and my feet and stuff, you know. But it just depends. It depends a lot on the cultural context and the individuals involved. Yeah, I know. Like for example, Kalakanta Prabhu, he will tolerate it once a year on his Vyasa Puja, and that's it. As an official duty to his disciples. That's it. And then other sannyasis, it may just be very common that like whenever they arrive at a new, they travel a lot, and whenever they arrive at a new place and they're received, you know, especially at someone's home, there'll be like a washing ceremony. So it just depends on the time, place, and circumstances. So we need to be sensitive and use our discrimination to know what is pleasing. Yes.
Very bad question, but you know, like when I was not in ISKCON,
Yeah.
so what if you don't know that oh someone is pure devotee and someone give you the Charnamrita and they ask you to drink and you feel like you know some little hesitation inside. Yeah, so how do we get rid of that? How do we
If you're
see?
feeling hesitation, then don't drink it. Just put some.
Yeah, but then we will miss the.
I mean, it's a matter of faith, you know, like if you want to, you know, have a leap of faith and just drink it, then go ahead. But if you're feeling uncomfortable, like you don't want to drink it, you don't have to drink it. You can just politely refuse, or you can put it on your head only. Like I know, like some gurus, when they do the foot washing, they're also a little sensitive that not everyone who came to the event is going to want to drink the foot wash water. So they usually like distribute it only to the disciples. And then if somebody else will ask, like, have faith, you know, so they're going to be happy. They'll be very eager to get it. But others might be like, especially like among Westerners, you know, if you have like Westerners who are new, they're gonna be like, this is so weird. It's super cultish, actually. Funny.
I went to a Vyasa Puja this year of like a very senior devotee Diksha Guru in ISKCON. And at the end of the Vyasa Puja celebration, there was the Prasadam feast. His disciples had so much Charanamrita. It was like they had dozens, maybe even like hundreds of like the little water bottles. You know, like small water bottles, but they were all filled with Charanamrita. Some of them even had rose petals in them. And they were distributing to all of,
Whoever wanted.
yeah, whoever wanted.
Nice.
We got
So like that's practical way to do it because it's in a bottle and then you can decide,
what to do.
Yeah.
Is there any way to to develop that faith? Because anyways, it's good.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
develop the faith by serving the person,
Mm.
right? By serving the person, hearing from them, developing a relationship with them. Okay. Dust to the lotus feet. Ki jai.
Bye.
Text 18. Krishna yari chitte bhakte bhukti mukti diya kabul prema bhakti na dena rakina lakaya. Good to go.
Wants liberation or material sense gratification from the Lord, Krishna immediately delivers it, but pure devotional service he keeps hidden.
So that's another reason why devotional service is so rare, is because Krishna doesn't give it out so freely. He's like, oh, you want some material thing? There you go.
Mm.
And if you want liberation, there you go. But you want devotional service? I'm gonna think a few times, right?
Mhm.
So why is that?
Because Krishna becomes a slave of that person.
Yeah, Krishna becomes sold out to his devotees. He becomes conquered by his devotees. That's what Rupa Goswami says.
Share something?
Huh?
Can I share something?
Yeah,
I was just reading in the third canto in the 16th chapter.
yeah.
The four Kumaras are in Vaikuntha. They just cursed Jaya and Vijaya, and now they're talking to Vishnu.
Yeah.
And Vishnu, he says to them, because I am the servitor of my devotees, my lotus feet have become so sacred that they immediately wipe out all sin. And I have acquired such a disposition that the goddess of fortune does not leave me, even though I have no attachment for her, while others praise her beauty and observe sacred vows to secure her for even a slight favor. So, Narayan Krishna is saying, because I'm the servitor of my devotees, my lotus feet have become so sacred. Lord's mood is that the only reason that I'm special is because I'm the servant of my
I serve my
devotees.
devotees. Yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking about how profound that is.
Right? Yeah. Shows how special the devotees of the Lord are. That the Lord sees them as worshipable himself, and he thinks that my only value is due to serving the devotees. Amazing, right? If only we saw the devotees the way the Lord sees the devotees, there would be no offenses. There would be no bickering, fighting. It's like that.
I did not understand it fully. Like how God is thinking that way.
How is he thinking that way?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how much he loves his devotees. How much he appreciates the good qualities and the service of his devotees.
Mm.
He doesn't see our faults. Like, if he's gonna see our faults, he will like never want to see our faces.
I mean, I think here he's talking about the pure devotees.
Yeah.
He's talking about pure. He's not talking about like Bhakti Joe,
Like
but
that.
he does. I mean, he does appreciate. He's letting.
He's talking about Prahlad.
Yeah, Prahlad Maharaj. Yeah. Oh, Bhakti Joe. he's grateful that Bhakti Joe started doing service and is gradually turning away from his Maya, and he's being patient and giving Bhakti Joe some time to become purified, and then Krishna also take the dust of his lotus feet, put it on his head. Okay, or he's talking about Srimati Radharani, right? That he puts the dust, he puts her feet on his head, worships the ground she walks on. Okay, now. Rajan pratir guru alamba vatam yadunam Daivam Priya Kulapati Kvacha Kinkarova Astevam Anga Bhagavan Vajatam Mukunda Muktim Dadati Karichit Snanadam Yoga.
The great said Sukadeva Goswami, my dear Parikshit Maharaj, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna is always ready to help you.
Does yours say Parikshit Maharaj? Mine says Yudhisthira.
Mine says Maharaj Parikshit.
Oh, really?
Parikshit. Yeah.
Oh,
What
okay.
says yours?
Yours says Parikshit?
Parikshit.
Oh, why does mine say Yudhisthira?
Oh.
Anyways, go ahead.
He's the master. Sometimes he agrees to act as your servant or other carrier. You're greatly fortunate because this relationship is possible only by Bhakti Yoga. The Lord can give liberation, mukti, very easily. But does not give very easily one Bhakti Yoga because by that process he is bound to the devotee. Purpose. This passage is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 6, while Sukadeva Goswami was describing the character of Rishabha Deva. He distinguished between Bhakti Yoga and liberation by reciting this verse. Relationship with the Yadus and Pandavas, then Sukadeva Yudhishthira.
Hers is also,
Yeah.
he's like the grand nephew of, no. Yeah,
Yeah.
the grand nephew of Yudhisthira. So they're both
They're both
Pandavas. Yeah, go ahead.
The Lord acted sometimes as their master, sometimes as their advisor, sometimes as their friend, sometimes as the head of the family, and sometimes even their servant. Krishna once had to carry out an order of Yudhishthira by carrying a letter Yudhishthira had written to Duryodhana regarding peace negotiation. Similarly, he also became the chariot driver for Arjuna. This illustrates that in Bhakti Yoga there is a relationship established between the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the devotee. Such a relationship is established in the transcendental mills known as Dasya Sakya. For devotee liberation, he gets it very easily from Supreme Personality of Godhead as confirmed by Viriva Mangala Thakura. Mukti Swayam Mukutim Jali Sevata Sevan. For a devotee, Mukti is not very important because Mukti is always standing on his doorstep waiting to serve him in some way. Devotee, therefore, must be attracted by the behavior of the inhabitants of Vrindavana, who lives in a relationship with Krishna. The land, water, cows, trees, and flowers serve Krishna in Santa Rasa. His servants serve him in Dasya Rasa, and his cowherd friends serve him in Sakya Rasa. Similarly, the elder gopis and gopas serve Krishna as father and mother, uncles and other relatives, and the young gopis, the cowherd girls, serve Krishna in conjugal love. While executing devotional service, one must be naturally inclined to serve Krishna in one of these transcendental relationships. That is the actual success of life. For a devotee, to get liberation is not very difficult. Even one who is unable to Brahman equals. This is called Samyukya Mukti. Vaishnavas never accept Sayuchya Mukti, although sometimes they accept the other form of liberation, the Sarupya, Salukya, Samipya, and Sarsti. Pure devotee, however, does not accept any kind of mukti. He wants only to serve Krishna in a transcendental relationship. This is the perfectional stage of spiritual life. Mayavadi philosopher desires to merge into the existence of Brahman effulgence, although this part of liberation is always neglected by devotees. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur describes this kind of mukti, which is called Kaivalya, or becoming one with the Supreme, had said, Kaivalya Narakayate. Becoming one with the Supreme is as good as going to hell. Therefore, the ideal Mayavadi philosophy, becoming one with Supreme, is hellish for a devotee. He never accepts it. Mayavadi philosophers do not know that even if they merge into the effulgence of the Supreme, this will not give him the ultimate rest. An individual's soul cannot live in the Brahman effulgence in the state of inactivity. After some time, he must desire to be active. However, since he is not aware of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and therefore has no spiritual activity, he must come down for further activities in this material world. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10. I, because Mayavadi philosophers have no information regarding the transcendental service of the Lord, even after attaining liberation from material activities and merging into the Brahman effulgence, they must come down again to this material world to open hospital or schools or perform same philanthropic activities.
Yeah, mm. So, yeah, Prabhupada is making the point here that liberation is not very important.
Mm.
In fact, with the sake of not being important, he's making a point here that there's certain kinds of liberation, like merging into Brahman or trying to merge into objectionable, right? Like even if they're offered, the devotee's going to be like, no, go away, I don't want that. Why is it that devotees don't want the impersonal liberation of merging within the order of the Okay, yeah, the main thing is there's no service for Krishna. Devotee exists to serve Krishna. All the devotee wants to do is serve Krishna, talk to Krishna, walk with Krishna, dance with Krishna, eat with Krishna. But if you merge into Krishna, you can't do any of those things. On the side of you may as well just go there. Hell's better because maybe in hell you know. There are some like noxious substances. But in when you merge, you lose your identity. You don't have senses with which to like serve the Lord. Mm-hmm. So that's worse than hell, actually. So yeah, Prabhupada is promoting that we should be attracted to the behavior of the inhabitants of Vrindavan instead of being attracted to Brahman. Yeah.
We merge with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That means we, like the soul, the identity, is finished.
Yeah, Prabhupada said it's called, he calls it spiritual suicide.
So that means that soul does have an ending.
Well, the soul doesn't end. It just your individuality ends or is suspended. Basically, it's kind of suspended. It's like put on hold, and then you're just like, because the soul is energy. Right? It's spiritual energy. It's like a little glowing particle of light or something, right? Spiritual light. And so basically, you're just glowing there. There's just a bunch of little spiritual lights that are making up the light of the Brahma Jyoti, and you're just basically radiating there forever without any sense of identity or individuality or desires or.
It is just still there.
Huh?
It is still there.
Still there, yeah, yeah. And then what happens is you get, yeah, like Prabhupada was saying, you get bored or you get lonely. Prabhupada said, I heard Prabhupada saying in class that the soul gets lonely. There's no one to talk to. There's nothing to do. You're just like forever, right? So then you get lonely. There's nothing to talk to, nothing to do, no relationships, no love. There's no misery because you're out of the material world. So there's no material suffering. But there's nothing, you know, there's no unhappiness, but there's also no real happiness. There's no bad relationships, but there's also no good relationships. Yeah. It's nothing that you have, it's not that you have for, because here in this material, we're forced to do so many things we don't want to do. And then we suffer. But you're not forced to do anything you don't want to do, but you also can't do anything that you do want to do. And it's just, you're just kind of stuck in a limbo. And then love and be able to have, you know, relationships and service, and so what happens is that they fall down in this material world just to have relationships and just to serve. But because their consciousness is, you know, beyond material consciousness, then the way that they fall down and they will do some humanitarian work, or do something good, because they have pure consciousness, and that's how they could get out of the material world in the first place. But then by doing kind of mundane humanitarian work in this world, they end up gradually getting degraded again, because it's material and under the influence of the material modes of nature. So they become influenced by the material modes of nature, and then it's a whole downward spiral, unless they meet a devotee. So yeah. Dave, you wanted to say something?
One question. I heard this from a devotee who had recently read the Caitanya. And so I could find the quotation, the source for it, but I just want to know if you recognize it. But that even in the Brahman Jyoti, there's also like a personification of the Brahman Jyoti. You heard this before?
No.
It's like a form of the Lord that's like the Brahman Jyoti personified. Okay, maybe I'll check with them. I'll check with them about that, because it doesn't ring a bell to you. I might not be remembering it properly. The second thing I want to share is that right before Lord Narayan says what I had shared earlier, the four Kumaras pray. They say, we pray that you let us be born in any hellish condition of life, just as long as our hearts and minds are always engaged in the service of your lotus feet. Our words are made beautiful by speaking of your activities, just as philosophies are beautified when offered unto your lotus feet, and as long as our ears are always filled with the chanting of your transcendental qualities. And that's like right after they make the switch from becoming Brahmavadi to
now they appreciate
personalist.
I want to be serving Krishna wherever I go.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, so that's the mood of a devotee. Yeah.
I was thinking that when we say this, even Krishna came down to just feel how Radharani was feeling.
Yeah.
To have feelings, he came down to this material world. And
Yeah.
People, if we say that, okay, we don't want this feeling, then.
Yeah, right. So the highest position actually in the whole, universe, material and spiritual worlds is practically to be a devotee. Because Krishna comes
Back.
and he comes to be a devotee because he wants to experience what it's like to be a devotee, because it's the one thing that he can't experience as God, is what it's like to be his devotee. So that's Lord Caitanya, that's who we're reading about. Going through. Yes, what else? Okay, text one. Nina prema Shri Caitanya Adi-lila tata Jagai Madai Paryanta Anyaraka Kata. Just reading. Dave?
Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has freely given this love of Krishna everywhere and anywhere, even to the most fallen such as Jagai and Madhai. What then to speak of those who are already pious and elevated? Purport. The distinction between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gift to human society and the gift of others is that whereas so-called philanthropic and humanitarian workers have given some relief to human society as far as the body is concerned, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offers the best facilities for going back home, back to Godhead, with love of Godhead. If one seriously makes a comparative study of the two gifts, Chaitanya, it was with this purpose that Kaviraj Goswami said, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Doya Kahar Vichara Karile Chitte Pave Chatmakar. If you are indeed interested in logic and argument, kindly apply it to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find it to be strikingly wonderful. Srila Narottam Das Thakur also says, Yinahina Yata Chila Hariname Udharila Harasakshi Jagai Madai. The two brothers, Jagai and Madai, epitomized the sinful population of this age of Kali. They were most disturbing elements in society because they were meat eaters. They were most disturbing elements in society because they were meat eaters. Sri Chaitanya delivered them, to say nothing of others, who were sober, pious, devoted, and conscientious. Bhagavad Gita confirms that, to say nothing of the brahmanically qualified devotees and Rajrishis, Kim Punar Brahmana Punya Bhaktarajar Shayastata. Anyone who by the association of a pure devotee comes to Krishna consciousness, becomes eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita at 9:32, the Lord thus declares, Mavi Partha Yapashritya Yepi Syu Papayonaya Striyo Vaishastata Shudras Epi Yanti Param Gatim. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, and Shudras, they can attain the supreme destination. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered the two fallen brothers Jagai and Matai, but the entire world is presently full of Jagais and Matais, or in other words, woman hunters, meat eaters, gamblers, thieves, and other rogues who create all kinds of disturbances in society. The activities of such persons have now become common practices. Meat eater or rogue. These elements have been assimilated by human society. That does not mean, however, that the abominable qualities of such persons will help free human society from the clutches of Maya. Rather, they will entangle human society more and more in the reactions of the stringent laws of material nature.
Hold on there. I thought this was quite profound. So previously, when the world was a little more pious back in our grandparents, great-grandparents' day, these things were looked down upon, right? Like sex outside of marriage and drinking and any kind of thing. This is what like bad people did, like even having like having like living with your boyfriend or girlfriend before marriage. That was like people didn't do that. That was like looked upon as really sinful. Like it was literally called living in sin. Is when you're living, And nowadays, what to speak of abortions and other things, these things were just like what bad people did. And nowadays it's just what normal people do, and it's before you get married, test each other out, see what it's going to be like, because otherwise, maybe you get married and you realize that you can't really live together. Or, these days, if you don't drink, smoke, or take drugs, it's like, what's wrong with you, right? Yeah. If you haven't had sex by the time you're like 18, what's wrong with you?
People smoke, you're so boring.
Yeah. So these things are but then Prabhupada's making the point that even though they're accepted, even though they're legal, they're socially acceptable, they're actually socially encouraged, Prabhupada says it doesn't mean that it's okay. It doesn't mean that these are going to be okay. He said, but actually they're going to entangle us more and more in the reactions of the stringent laws of material nature. So even though society says, yes, do it, we're still going to get the karmic consequences for doing those things. So we need to be aware of these things that, morality. But the laws of nature are not, right? They are absolute. And so we can't just go by what the government says is legal and what society says is normal and permissible, and socially acceptable. So we have to really know what are the laws of God, and act accordingly. So that's why we have scriptures to know these things. Otherwise, people live what they think is a good, normal, respectable life, and then they just, go to hell or, take birth in an animal species or, and as they probably get there and they're just like, what? I was a good person. I never killed anyone. I never raped anyone. It's like the standard of what's bad behavior becomes so extreme that they don't even know what they're doing wrong. Okay? So that's unfortunate. Kids are just fed meat from, from a baby food jar. And the parents think I'm being a responsible parent by feeding my kid meat so they can get protein, so they can grow nicely. And the kid grows up thinking that's just food. Like there's no difference between eating meat and eating a potato or a carrot or a piece of bread. It's just food. And nobody tells them that, like, actually, you're going to suffer so much for eating that.
So because like I come from a typical Brahmin family, like there was no meat in my house ever.
Mhm.
And now my cousins and all my brothers are feeding their kids meat, which is so weird because they're saying like, "Oh, I wish we would have eaten meat in our childhood." And I'm like, "Are you all crazy?" It's like they're doing all the opposite
Yeah.
things, and we are like very Brahmin, like we're Brahmins, like
Mm.
born Brahmin, cast Brahmin.
Yeah, so it just goes to show that like things change in human society, but we have standards that don't change. So we need to know what those are. Okay, go ahead, Sadev.
One's activities are all performed under the influence of the modes of material nature. I could take your mana and you and I probably astonishing. But people are now associating with ignorance and passion. So
To some extent.
a little passion.
A little passion there.
Rajaguna, with no trace of goodness, Sattva-guna, they're becoming increasingly greedy.
So basically, it's like almost all ignorance. There's no goodness, and there's a little passion, and everything else is just ignorance.
For that is the effect of associating with these models, of these modes. Tada rajas, mo bhava, kama, lobhadayas chaye. By associating with the two lower qualities of material nature, one becomes lusty and greedy. Actually, in modern human society, everyone is greedy and lusty, and therefore the only means for deliverance is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, which can promote all the jagais and badhais to the topmost position of Sattva-gun or Brahminical culture. Srimad Bhagavatam states, Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavatameshtaki Da Rajastamo Bhava Kama Lobhadayas Chaye Chita Eter Navitam Stitam Sattve Prasidati. Considering the chaotic condition of human society, if one actually wants peace and tranquility, one must take to Krishna consciousness. They must take to the Krishna consciousness movement and engage always in Bhagavat Dharma. Engagement in Bhagavat Dharma dissipates all ignorance and passion. And when ignorance and passion are dissipated, one is freed from greed and lust. When freed from greed and lust, one becomes Brahmanically qualified. And when a Brahmanically qualified person makes further advancement, he becomes situated on the Vaishnava platform. It is only on this Vaishnava platform that it is possible to awaken one's dormant love of Godhead. As soon as one does so, his life is successful. At present, human society is specifically cultivating the mode of ignorance, although there may also be some symptoms of passion. Full of kama and lobha, lust and greed, the entire population of the world consists mostly of Shudras and a few Vaishyas, and gradually it is coming about that there are Shudras only. Communism is a movement of Shudras, and capitalism is meant for Vaishyas. In this fight between the two factions, the Shudras and Vaishyas, gradually, due to the abominable conditions of society, the communists will emerge triumphant. And as soon as this takes place, whatever is left of society will be ruined. Wow, that's an interesting prediction. The only possible remedy that can counteract the tendency towards communism is the Krishna consciousness movement, which can give even communists the real idea of communist society. According to the doctrine of communism, the state should be the proprietor of everything. But the Krishna consciousness movement, expanding the same idea, accepts God as the proprietor of everything. People cannot understand this because they have no sense of God. But the Krishna consciousness movement can help them to understand God and to understand that everything belongs to God. Since everything is the property of God, and all living entities, not only human beings, but even animals, live at the cost of God with God consciousness. This is the sum and substance of the Krishna consciousness movement.
Prabhupada. So yeah, Prabhupada wrote this. He was writing this in like the 70s when, there was a lot of strife between the communists and the capitalists. And he talks about this also in the beginning of the Sri Isha Upanishad in Mantra 1, where there's the verse Isha Vasya Midam Sarvam, that everything animate and inanimate within the universe is owned and controlled by the Lord, and one should accept only what is put aside as one's quota, knowing well to whom things belong. So yeah, Prabhupada talks about spiritual communism. Actually, Krishna is the supreme proprietor of everything. And according to our karma, we're allotted a certain quota. So it's kind of similar to communism, right? That the state owns everything, the government owns everything, and everybody gets a quota according to how many kids you have in your family or whatever. You get your quota, you go there, and it doesn't matter like what kind of work you do. Everyone just gets rationed out amounts according to need, and there are no higher or lower economic divisions in society. So in a spiritual sense, that's true, right? That Krishna owns everything. We have our quota according to our karma. Everyone is equal spiritually on the spiritual platform in the eyes of the Lord. But then, but according to karma, some get more, some get less, and there's actually a system of justice in the administration of karma. It's not just that people are just stripped away of everything, and everybody's forced to just be like poor and low and downtrodden and disempowered. But Krishna's system is actually empowering people to act to their optimal ability according to their natures. Okay. Yeah. So this verse is glorifying Lord Caitanya. That Lord Caitanya is given this love of Krishna everywhere and anywhere. So first he's talking about how rare it is, how difficult it is to get love of God, right? That if you commit offenses in chanting, you can chant for lifetimes, you're not going to get it. That even if you do sacrifices, you might go to heavenly planets. If you cultivate knowledge, you might get liberation, but you're not going to get devotional service because Krishna doesn't give it very easily. Krishna keeps that love of God very confidentially hidden, right? But then Krishna's Kaviraj says, but Lord Chaitanya has freely given this love of Krishna everywhere, to everyone, even to the most fallen like Jagai and Madai, to speak of those who are pious. So this is our only hope. So don't worry too much about communism, capitalism, or this process or that process. Just take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and beg him for love of God by chanting the holy names. There's a nice picture of Prabhupada here. Prabhupada is sitting in his rocking chair and he's like, you can see he's being very thoughtful, like, how am I going to deliver these rascals? You see, Prabhupada's being very pensive. He's like,
What to do?
what to do? Yeah. There's like a random rose here on the floor that fell on his garland or I don't know. Okay, are we good? Oh, so this will be our last class at this time. On Monday, we're going to start at a later time. And I'll end the class and we can discuss because I already talked to Nikesh and Arjuna about this. And so we'll just, we'll add you to the group, Nikesh, and then we'll just inform what time it will be. It'll be we'll start at sometime between 5:30 and 7 Central US time.
On Monday.
That's good.
Yeah, okay, cool. So, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.